Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Recently, there's been some technical difficulties. Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Angela, Mishi. Welcome. Hello, Bonnie. It's been a while. Welcome, Camilla. Glad to have you all here right now, wherever you are in the world. I am joining you from Mexico in the mid-afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny day on the biggest lake in Mexico. The temperature is perfect. There's a slight chill to the air. The sun is hot. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's very quiet where I live. I can see the lake from my house. It's full of water. The mountains are green from all of the rain from the rainy season that's just ending. The energy here, there's an energy vortex in this area. Even Paramahansa Yogananda came here when he was alive and predicted that this would be a spiritual center for people. If anybody knows Autobiography of a Yogi, he took a boat to the middle of the lake behind me here. So, very grateful to be here and to be here with you. Very grateful for Insight Timer. I know it's changed my life and many of our lives. How wonderful that we have such an amazing community here. People all over the world with similar values as far as spirituality goes, with meditation, with self-development, being the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And that's what we're going to be diving into today, is showing up to the best of our ability and overcoming codependent patterns, overcoming childhood survival patterns is what we're going to talk about today. The pattern of self-abandonment in the name of helping or being there for other people and putting our needs below others. Welcome, Melinda. So please say hello if you'd like to. If you are new, you can also say that. New to me, new to Insight Timer. And I know most of you here, and so glad to have all of you if you're new or not. Welcome, Annette. So let's just pause and take a few centering breaths together. Breathing into the body, feeling that grounded energy going in. And on the exhale, just releasing and relaxing. Releasing what no longer serves us, if it's energy, if it's thoughts. I know some of you have worry and concern. So breathing in peace and breathing out, just feeling the relief, the relaxation of the out breath. You might even want to relax and release with sound. And if you yawn, all the better. Yawning is a wonderful sign that the body is moving from fight or flight into relaxation mode. So if you haven't already, please give me a follow. You can click the pop-up on the screen if you would like. How many of you are feeling stressed this week, or stress or tension? Give an emoji in the chat of how your week has been. Give a heart. I have. Which is why my body is really liking that we're just taking a couple breaths, grounding, centered breaths right now together. It's so valuable and important. Welcome, Vikshanti from Arizona. You're not too far from me. Angela, hi April, sending love. Annette and Bonnie. You know, the act of showing up here right now and even sharing in the chat is a way to show up for yourself, and it's an action of self-care. And even to communicate or express yourself with emojis or words, sharing what's real is powerful. If because of my yawning you feel your body wanting to yawn, please allow that to occur. In our wonderful live stream the other night, I talked about how when we're in survival mode and, you know, when the body is activated, when we're in fight or flight, we don't yawn, because if we think back to survival days when we're running through the woods being chased by a bear, we're not going to be yawning. And it's such a simple thought, but it's so true. So, celebrating yawns. Yawning is also showing the brain waves are changing, moving down from more energized brain waves, from beta into alpha and theta, which is more relaxing. Wonderful, Angela. And, you know, you're sharing the other night, Angela joined our live stream and shared their challenge. And yes, it's helpful for others for sure. So thank you for that. And even me, you know, I'm not showing up here saying everything's shiny and wonderful. I said I'm having a stressful week. And I'm allowing my body to yawn, you know. It's like a social thing. How many of you have noticed being in social situations, if you want to yawn, you try and stifle it or stop it because it seems rude somehow? So I'm allowing my body to fully yawn, and I'm feeling the relaxation response as that's happening. And really what we're going to dive into today, and we'll start now, the idea of not abandoning ourselves in the name of others. Even the simple act of like me allowing myself to yawn right now is an example of not abandoning myself, because my body wants to do that. But if I'm showing up in people pleasing or caring what people think or wanting to mask or manipulate my image to others, I'm going to stifle a yawn. And that's so simple, but it's so true. So I can celebrate my body wanting to do this right now and even being able to use that as an example. So what we're going to look at today is this idea of overgiving, showing up not in the authenticity, in what the cost is, and then how we can stop doing it. There is a wasp flying around, so I'm just trusting it's gonna it's not gonna land on my body. Yeah. Wonderful, Melinda. So how many of you give and give to families, partners, clients, work, even causes, until there's nothing left for yourself? Now, if we do this, we might tell ourselves it's love, it's duty, it's obligation, it's kindness. And underneath, it's often a part of a pattern of self-abandonment. So we're going to explore what self-abandonment really looks like, why we do it, and how we can start shifting out of doing that. So how many of you have had a moment where you said yes, and right after you said it, you're like, why did I say yes to that? You regret it. Or even as the words are coming out, you notice your body is saying no. Give a yes in the chat if you've done that, just as a way to relate, not to shame. Because we've all done it. How many of you have stayed quiet to keep the peace? How many of you can relate to that one? Yeah, even today, I had that happen. I was in a conversation and somebody was saying, they were talking about another person not in the conversation, and they were like saying, yeah, I know that's what's like, they were making all these assumptions about the person, like, oh, this is going to happen, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that now. And I just witnessed it. Like, I witnessed my mind being like, you're just making up a bunch of shit about this person. Hello, wasp. And I chose to not say anything, to keep the peace. And also, that might not be the best example, because we also want to run things through the filter of, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And honestly, it wasn't about like a self-abandonment moment. That was more about, it's not necessary for me to say anything. Somebody's sharing their assumptions about them. It's none of my business. Now, a way that I could have self-abandoned would be like agreeing with them. And I didn't do that. I just stayed silent. I did not have I didn't acknowledge what they were saying at all. Well, aside from like nodding and looking. So there's all different subtle ways that this can show up. Hey, Summer Star. Hope your YTT is going well. Would be great to connect soon. Hi, Sylvia. So many of you can relate. How many of you have showed up for others at your own expense? How many of you have had a relationship or some sort of connection with somebody that was draining, and yet you continued? And maybe they call or they text, and when you see it, you're like, ugh, and you feel something inside of yourself, and you don't want to answer, but you do anyway. So that could be something like that specific dynamic could be in the moment, where maybe later you might have bandwidth, or it just might be like, I don't have any bandwidth, period, ever again for this person, right? So there's all different ways that this can show up. So wonderful, you are getting so much better, Melinda. And that's the thing, this isn't here like to evaluate or grade ourselves on where we're at. It's just to notice these patterns, normalize it. It happens for all of us. And also, maybe for some of you, these things are blind spots. So when we have a blind spot, it's running us because we don't know it's there. So you might be like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Now you're going to wake up and you're going to be different. You might still do the pattern moving forward, but you'll be seeing it, and then you can make a change. So in my coaching work with one-on-one clients, these are the sorts of, transformations I guide people with. And the thing is, when we transform within ourselves, everything outside us changes, all of the relationships outside of ourselves. I'm working with somebody in a year-long coaching agreement, and the things that they're saying now that the year is almost up, they're like, I showed up differently with this family member. I didn't engage. I noticed that, I don't think they liked that I wasn't co-signing their bullshit, if you will. And it wasn't that she even set out to show up differently. It naturally happened because of who she's becoming. So it's really deep and powerful when these changes occur. Yeah, totally, Melinda. I totally get you, what you're saying there. And good for you for acknowledging and noticing in yourself the changes you have made. So I want to ask a couple questions for you all, again, to reflect and maybe open a new awareness. Where in your life do you consistently override your truth to keep someone else comfortable? Where in your life do you consistently override your truth to keep someone else comfortable? It might be with a specific person. So you can share in the chat where that happens for you. It might be with a dynamic. It might be with a certain social group. Or it might be with a one-on-one relationship of any kind. Welcome, Amanda. Glad to have you. Good morning. So how many of you have silenced yourself to keep the peace? This is a form of self-abandonment. So I want you to tune into an example within yourself of, something is popping up for you right now as I'm talking about this. So whatever that is, when you're reflecting on that memory or that situation with that person, notice how it feels in your body when you self-abandon. You can tune into that. It might feel like a heaviness, a numbness, a tightness. So the next question I want you to really hear: what are you afraid might happen if you stopped abandoning yourself? What are you afraid might happen if you stopped abandoning yourself? Which would mean, if you stopped doing it, what would you do? Would you speak up? Would you set a boundary? Would you consciously end a connection? And if you did that, what are you afraid of that would happen? For me, even in the example I gave about earlier today, and I think this is probably most of us, I would be afraid of conflict. I would be afraid that conflict would arise. I would be afraid of a disagreement or a disappointment. And how many of you grew up in a household where you weren't allowed to disagree? If you did use your voice, if you did speak up, if you did create conflict, you were punished and silenced. Ooh, Amanda, feeling heat, heaviness. Yeah, and being afraid of abandonment and rejection. Totally, of course. Conflict for Melinda. Yes. In the US, in older times, that saying, children should be seen and not heard. So self-abandonment occurs when we trade our authenticity for belonging, acceptance, approval, or temporary peace. We learned that being good, being quiet, being helpful kept us safe. So we want to just acknowledge, it's not bad and wrong. This pattern helped us survive, just like all of these childhood patterns. Because our primary caregivers, if they were parents or whatever, we could not sacrifice or endanger the connection with our primary caregivers because they are our life. They are life. So instead of pushing against them in whatever way, if it would be speaking up, we have to keep that safe, even if it's totally fucked up. So instead, the only thing we can do then is turn on ourselves and abandon ourselves. in all these micro ways that then, when we're adults, have real consequences. Yeah, I can relate, Amanda. I'm sure others can too. So how does this self-abandonment show up? It shows up in overgiving, people-pleasing, silencing yourself, shrinking, self-criticism. So I'll read those again and type in the chat which one sticks out to you the most that you do. Overgiving, which means caring for everyone else before yourself. People-pleasing, saying yes when you want to say no. Silencing yourself, not speaking your truth to avoid conflict. Shrinking, minimizing your needs, your gifts, or your voice. And self-criticism, turning against yourself when others disapprove, which I call that self-gaslighting. All of the above. Yee. Ah. I think for me, it depends on what dynamic I'm in and who I'm with. Self-sabotage. I think all of these are self-sabotage. They're different flavors. Definitely for me, I think self-criticism is always there. That critical voice against myself. I think that's for me the biggest one. Sylvia, overgiving and people-pleasing. So we look at why we do it. Childhood trauma, survival patterns. If we look a little more, we could say fear of rejection, fear of conflict, like we talked about. It could also be, old conditioning from childhood that love must be earned. We can't just be who we are. We have to edit ourselves. We have to be nice so others will like/love us. We do it because there's a belief that our worth depends on being useful or agreeable. Like if I disagree, if I go against, the group, I'm not going to be accepted. So then again, we turn on ourselves. And, this also is part of evolving in tribe, in community. It feels like life and death if we were to have a disagreeable opinion. We might be kicked out of the tribe and left behind, and then we would die because we would be alone. Totally. That sounds really exhausting, Amanda. I mean, all of this is how many people can relate to being exhausted by these patterns besides me and Amanda. Hi, Vic. Yeah, fear of being alone, which can be looked at as a fear of abandonment or rejection. So the cost of that is we end up exhausted, as was just said. We end up resentful. We end up invisible in our own lives. So shifting this pattern is sacred responsibility. It's not selfish. We can't pour from an empty cup, and all of this drains us. So if you are up to big things in your life, if you have big dreams, goals, and visions, if, you know, you're living on purpose, if you're here to do that, to lead, to teach, to create, it's very difficult to do while betraying yourself and draining your energy in these ways. Our integrity, our alignment with our truth and being authentic is our greatest power. So I'm going to walk us through a way to, like a framework that you can experiment with, so that you can bring this from abstract concepts into tangible form. And it's an acronym that spells out the word brave. So it takes bravery and courage to do this. So B is for body. So very first of all, you know, it's about waking up in the dynamic. So it could be anything, right? There's all different ways, and we've explored some of them about how we abandon ourselves. So it might be, you know, I'm just pulling something out of the air, you know, your drunk sibling calling you at 3 a.m. again for you to come pick them up because they've gotten themselves into a situation, right? Just an example. And, you know, you've showed up every time, you've answered the phone, you've gone and got them. And now you're going to be brave and not abandon yourself and try something different. So the first step is having the awareness in the moment of the body. So it's about having a bodily awareness in the moment of what you're feeling in your body. So you want to regulate your body first and then respond second. You know, in these dynamics, or even if it's not something so dire as my example, but just you're in a group of people in a conversation, somebody says something, whatever, you notice you want to go into people pleasing about that or whatever it may be. First, notice like dropping into the body. Regulate first, respond second. So it doesn't mean if you're in a public place or whatever, like you're not going to be doing some crazy dance. It's just simple awareness. What is your jaw doing? Are you clenching your jaw? Are your shoulders up? How's your breath? You can name the feeling inside, tightness, heat, just into yourself. Hi, Diani. Hope I'm saying that right. Yes, sacred responsibility, not selfishness. So body first, brave. R is reality check. So we want to then just get really clear what is being asked of me. You can just reflect that quickly to yourself in the moment. What's the real cost if I say yes to this thing? You know, some things are higher stakes or lower stakes than others. What's the cost if I say no? So you want to separate the facts from the fear and from negative future fantasy. You know, if we're dysregulated, we're just going to be thinking fearful. So after we regulate the body, then we ask ourselves, we have a reality check. What's being asked of me? What's the cost of me saying yes and the cost of me saying no? And then A is ask your truth to yourself in that moment. What do I feel? What do I want and what do I need? And then feeling into the body, is it, what's my honest yes or no? Now, this is really powerful to slow down on. If you aren't a full yes, you can be a no or a no for now. So sometimes the no might be, I'll get back to you. You know, and no is a complete sentence, or if you know you're never going to change, you can just say no, thanks for asking, or whatever. So you never want to show up and make a decision from a fog, from fear, from obligation, or from guilt. So if you're asked to do something and you feel that, like there's an energy. How many of you can relate? It's not even like, this is the way the energy feels for me. Like, I don't really want to do that. I guess I could. So that's obligation energy. There might be guilt involved, or fear, or all three. So Amanda, the practice is, if you've had a difficult time saying no up until now, you know, you don't need to practice with the narcissistic mother, right? You can practice with something that's more low stakes. You know, it might be, oh, hey, can you jump on the phone for 10 minutes? No, not right now. Something like that. So the V in brave is voice it cleanly. So if you're going to not abandon yourself and not people please, and you're going to say no, we'll say as an example, there's, you know, ways to communicate that that's not like totally harsh and rude. So you could say, thanks for thinking of me, I'm not available. That's it. This is something I also do with my coaching clients one-on-one. I will actually help them craft communication, if it's email or text, or what to say in a conversation. I will check people's correspondence. I mean, of course, you know, if they want to, and I do think it's a good idea. Because what happens is with a lot, like if somebody does say no, there will be a list of excuses and justifications. How many of you can relate to that? Saying no, yeah, because, well, my sister's coming next week, and, you know, oh, my dog has to go to the vet, and it's like none of that is necessary. We do that out of fear. So we want to voice it cleanly. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm not available for that. I'm not available. Right. So Amanda, I'm seeing everything you're saying. So I'm really glad you're here. It sounds like there's a lot that is resonating with you. You know, you said if I do something nice, I won't be hurt. Exactly. So that's the where was it? Well, people pleasing, overgiving. Sounds like you have a lot of dynamics going on, Amanda. And you know, it's great. You're here. There's hope. And it just starts with the next thing. You know, it doesn't mean there needs to be a big overhaul everywhere and making huge sweeping changes. It's like, okay, the next time something comes up that's low stakes, you can practice with that. Welcome, Shiva. Yes, it's a Hare Krishna scarf. I'm sure you know that. So, other ways you can voice it cleanly. You could say, I want to help, and this is what I can do. This is what I can offer. Or I'm available for this. This is what I'm available for. I also do a lot of coaching with other people that coach or sponsor others in 12-step, or just other coaches. And this is one of my favorite frames, is this is what I'm available for. So it's not even saying anything about the other person. You can also say, that doesn't work for me. Here's what would work for me. It's another way of saying this is what I'm available for. You could also say, I'll let you know tomorrow, or I'll let you know by Friday. So V is voice. Voice it cleanly. E is execute and repair. So follow through, right? If you set the boundary, follow through on it. And the repair pieces, we're not going to do it perfect. If you slip into old patterns, first repair with yourself. Don't shame yourself. Don't make yourself wrong. Don't beat yourself up. You can acknowledge, I went into the old pattern. I overrode myself. I'll recommit. Next time I'll pause. Next time I'll remember the acronym BRAVE, or I'll remember the process. And also, depending on the circumstance, you can go back to the person or the situation and you can renegotiate. If you're like, oh my God, why did I say yes to that? That was way too much. You can go back and be like, look, I gave it some more thought. I'm not available to do what I said I would. Apologies for that. Here's what I can actually do. So choosing yourself isn't even about abandoning others. It's ending the habit of abandoning yourself. So let's take a moment and just put our hands on our heart. Take a deep breath in and out. You can repeat to yourself, I choose to stay with myself, even when it's uncomfortable. I choose to stay with myself even when it's uncomfortable. And actually, I'm creating an online course right now for Insight Timer called The End of Self-Gaslighting. And this is exactly what we do. Because self-abandonment, we do it, then we shame ourselves and blame ourselves and make ourselves wrong. And it's a form of self-abandonment when we make ourselves wrong for how we feel. So share in the chat, what do you think will change when you start staying with yourself, choosing yourself, speaking up for yourself instead of abandoning yourself? What do you think will begin to change? For me, I feel more at peace in my body. And I feel more relaxed, even if there's, conflict outside of me or expectation. So, Amanda, I am in Mexico. What has you ask? So right now I know it's morning time over there. Awesome. So let's bring this into form as far as what is a tangible step you can take in the next week where you will honor yourself and start breaking this pattern? Is there something where you know you need to speak up and you're not looking, and you've been putting it off and not looking forward to it? Yeah, Melinda, so the E is execute and repair. And if anybody wants this in a document resource, send me a private message and I'll get that to you. Yeah, send me a message. You can do it here. I'm in YouTube right now, live streaming this as well. You can follow me there. Facebook, Instagram, my website. You can check all that in my profile here. And you can reach out and connect in any of those ways. So if you haven't already, there's my follow card on the screen. So what are you going to do this week? One small way that you'll honor yourself. It might even be resting. So this is a habit of, where you retrain yourself. It's progress, not perfection. It's a process, not an event. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to go out and be like, a samurai warrior with a sword, cutting everything where you're abandoning yourself all at once. And no. Lasting change starts with small steps. Tiny moments. Pause before you say yes. Doing that brave practice. Getting into the body. Inquiring in yourself what you want to do. Checking in before you offer help. Choosing honesty over harmony when it matters most. And then you build self-trust, and then it becomes easier. And that's how you stop abandoning yourself, by choosing to belong to yourself again and again in small ways. So if you want help with this and you've never had a gifted session with me, again, like I said, this is the work I do with my one-on-one coaching clients. Send me a private message. And if you've not had a gifted session with me before, I will offer that complimentary as you are in the community here. Or if you've had sessions with me and you want to go deeper, reach out, follow that heart's call. You can give a donation. The button is popped up on the screen. Sylvia, getting the rest you need. No, Amanda, this is all an insight timer. If you're an insight timer, you're an insight timer. If you're not, you're not. Good question. I am, so if you missed it in the beginning, I'm a spiritual life coach and Reiki master teacher. And what I do is what we're doing now. And I help people one-on-one in shifting these dynamics to have more peace and freedom internally, and then create, the life of your dreams on the outside. If that's new relationships, career, abundance, health, all of those things. So, I will be going live in a few days, and I'll pop this one up on the screen. This is my next live stream. We'll be doing our weekly collective card reading. We will be doing Reiki, ancestral clearing, and a weekly tarot oracle reading for everybody as a collective. And I do those one-on-one as well as a service. So if anyone is interested in that, they can send a message. All of my replays are up on my channel, so you can see all my replays. And you can check my meditations here. Please give them a listen, share them if they're valuable, bring a friend to the live streams if you find this helpful. This is how I make my living. This is how I show up in the world. This is what I do in the world. This is my purpose. I'm so grateful to be able to do this. And all the work that I've done has brought me to this place, and there's always more work to go. And if I can do it, so can you. And if you want to partner with somebody who has done some of the work and has created some of the results, follow the heart's call and send a message. Sylvia taking solo time. And I also have next week, in this live stream, will be Tuesday evening in the Western Hemisphere, when playing small is no longer an option. So if this talk resonated deeply for you, because when we abandon ourselves, we play small. I mean, all of the ways we looked at, it is playing small. So if that's no longer an option, join the live stream next week as well. And more will be scheduled for the month of November and beyond. So give a word in the chat of what was most helpful for you, what you're taking away from this live stream today. Wonderful, Sylvia. Yeah, I mean, I love doing this. That's why I'm doing it. And it's so inspiring to witness my clients and people I work with that, speak up for themselves for the first time. Don't shrink. Don't play small to stay safe. Take the bold action of leaving their job or the relationship because it's in alignment with their integrity and their value system. So again, give me a follow if you don't already, here and everywhere. Send a message if you feel called. Wonderful, Sylvia. Glad that it worked out today. And all my replays are available, so if you want to send me a message, I can share where that is, if that's helpful, or you can just join when you are able. So I hope everybody has a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Sending lots of loving to all of you. Thank you, Deanie, for the donation. I will see you all this weekend, Sunday morning in the Western Hemisphere. I've lived most of the past 12 years in Asia, so I'm very cognizant of what time it is in different parts of the world. So, thank you all. Thank you, Sylvia, Vikshanti, Amanda, everybody who has joined. Thank you, Sylvia, for the donation. Sending you all lots of loving. Diani. And I will see you all very soon. Namaste.